Our first session is called Resilient Retail, Advanced E-Commerce Strategies for Unpredictable Times, which we all know we are in. We're going to have an insightful discussion with Hani Batla, the Chief Information and Technology Officer at Adorama, and Elizabeth Garry, the VP of E-Commerce at Pandora, about how to survive and thrive in a volatile market. Specifically, the importance of shifting your focus from conversion to maximizing customer lifetime value, leveraging technology for growth, creating exceptional online experiences, personalizing customer interactions with data, and improving efficiency through team integration buy-in. Stepping in today for Arjun, who is sick, we have the very able Andrew Contillo, the Enterprise Growth Manager for Signifyd, and he will introduce the panelists. So welcome.
As we all know, post-pandemic retail is a very different landscape, and we are seeing an emphasis on innovation and integrated customer journeys and omni-channel experiences. Signifyd works with several innovative brands, and we believe the biggest impact will come from long-standing retail brands with a culture of innovation who are rapidly adopting new technologies. Lucky for us, Adorama and Pandora are two such brands at the forefront of innovation. And I'm thrilled to be joined today with my two esteemed panelists, Liz and Hani, who bring a wealth of experience and unique perspective on this topic. So before we get started, I would love for you both to introduce yourself and give everybody a little bit more background and context on your roles. Liz, want to kick us off?
Sure. First of all, thank you so much for having me today. It's a pleasure to be here with everyone. I'm Liz Garry. I'm the VP of e-commerce for Pandora North America. Pandora is actually the largest jewelry brand by volume in the world. I joined the company about, 13 months ago, I think. Moved from San Francisco and have spent the better part of a decade plus in a variety of different functions focused on digital retail.
Awesome.
Hi. Again, thank you for having me here. Being a pleasure. I'm Hani Batla, CIO CTO of Adorama. We are a local New York retailer. People say I make us sound small, but we're actually a 50-year-old company that dabbles in a range of businesses. Our biggest, one most famous for is, of course, professional audio, video, and photography under the Adorama brand, but we also cater to other personas of adventurers out there, so technically scuba.com and sunnysports.com, and then we do everything else for the creators. So between selling cameras and renting and printing and all that good stuff for that creator economy, we are a big participant in that. So been with the company 5 years, and it's been a fun ride these past few years.
Awesome. Well, let's get into it. We picked names out of a hat backstage, and Liz, lucky for you, you are question number one. So Liz, post-pandemic, we've seen a shift with online becoming the flagship store. How have you led Pandora in crafting digital experiences that mirror traditional in-store experiences?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think everyone in this room experienced COVID either through firsthand experience running a retail organization or being a part of one, or heard stories about it. We're obviously coming out of this period of hyper growth in the digital space, starting to see some normalization. I think Salesforce does a quarterly report and reported back that global e-com was up about 2% year over year, which is still pretty good, but we're used to seeing kind of double-digit growth across the sector. Now, because of the circumstances of COVID, digital kind of became the only option for many retailers. So customers were forced into this shopping channel, not by choice, but is really forced upon them. And now, especially across the industry, I think we're seeing a reconciliation of what is the role of digital. Each industry and business is different, but certainly dependent on where the customer is, how they think about their purchase, what kind of industry you're in, you're seeing digital play a more important role. It's not a channel that's going to go away. It's predicted that globally, digital e-com will be about 30% of global revenue by about 2025, so it's a sizable part of retailers' businesses. In Pandora, or the jewelry space, we see about 75% of customers actually start their journey online, whether that's on Amazon, browsing a local mom and pop shop, Google search, etc. So for us, it's incredibly important that we actually have the best exemplary experience of what our stores are. As I mentioned, Pandora is a jewelry brand, and we've built a really rich heritage of craftsmanship. Our business is celebrating people's loves. So we're known for charms. Those can be used to celebrate anniversaries, birthdays, graduations, the most intimate of moments. So it's really important for us to be able to connect and communicate our unique craftsmanship experience. Each of our items pass through about 25 individual hands throughout the production chain. Anything that has a stone, that's hand placed. Anything that has enamel, that's hand done. I had the privilege of going to our facilities in Thailand and actually trying to build some of our items. Luckily, none of them got through quality assurance, so don't worry, you can still buy a really high integrity product. But our stores associates are so good at being able to tell that rich heritage and earn customers' trust in, these items are made specifically for you. They're unique, they're handmade, and so we have the right to celebrate some of your moments. So we've invested a lot of time and technology in being able to translate that. We've recently built a new experience where we call it our craftsmanship tool. You can actually play around with mixing enamel colors and see how we make our unique color palette. You can try to actually implant some of the stones on one of our charms. It's very difficult. We've also built things like a virtual try-on, so you can see whether it's on a model image, your own hand, your own ears, the products as they move with you. So we're really trying to understand how we can best communicate what makes us really unique, earn that customer's trust in the digital format.
Wow, you sold me on Pandora. That's great. And only 13 months, and it sounds like you're really making a lot of strides there. Hani, Adorama has an exciting history of a physical store serving customers across geographies. What's the role of online as a flagship store, given the iconic flagship store here in Midtown New York?
Yeah, listen, Adorama started 50 years ago, so it's actually our 50th anniversary this year, on 34th Street. When I first joined the company 5 years ago, my favorite first image I found in one of our image archives was of the image of our very first store on 34th Street. And it was one of those classic old school ones, old cars. Probably was a step up. You had to walk up a few steps to the first store, and then you'd imagine the experience of somebody, very personal relationship, person knowing who you were, knowing what you like buying, what camera you may have owned, so they could sell you more lenses, all that sort of stuff, right? That image resonated with me because to me, that image didn't just speak about our past and heritage. It also had laid out, in my eyes, the blueprint for our future, which was basically the idea that, as Liz just said, right, with COVID and everything, a lot of folks moved online and discovered, but in Adorama's case, our journey to being more digital had started many years prior to that. So Adorama, even pre-COVID, was already about 90% digital. We continue to maintain our one flagship store, which is today now in Chelsea, New York, and on 18th and 6th. But we saw the value of what our store was doing, right? Even the single store that was there, and it was all about community, and it was about bringing people in and getting them to have hands-on experiences with the product, similar to how you'd want to, really feel one of those personal pieces from Pandora. But in our case, it's high-end cameras, it's lenses, and it's not just that, right? In our case, those things are not just gear. It's an investment. It's something that's going to allow a photographer, somebody to elevate their art or their business or their, unlock the next avenue for revenue for them. And so the store had always been this core place for folks to gather and learn and buy and shop. But, that only is an experience available to folks in New York City, unless you fly here, which a lot of folks do from all over the world, to our stores. But the blueprint that I was talking about was simple. As we had already seen our business grow more and more online, we had to figure out how do you really make it now the actual flagship store. And so what we were aspiring to do 5 years ago and to now is we realized that our online property acted very transactional in so many ways, right? It was all about pure retail. You're looking for a good deal. You're looking for some gear. It's inventory. They could go shop that anywhere else, even on Amazon or our competitors right here in New York City, some better known ones. So what we decided was very deliberately, we said, how do you translate that experience that we offered in the stores, and how do you bring it online? So what we've been and it's still a journey, so I wouldn't say we've accomplished everything, but we have basically very consciously worked to bring as much knowledge and the ability to do discovery and engage with experts and really let our customer know as much about the product without actually touching it, right? And that whole idea of the experience where then we can bring together a community and creators, we started out by leaning heavily into content. So we, as creators ourselves, create a lot of content for other creators, and it's a great way to have a conversation with them. We have over 1 million plus subscribers on our YouTube channel. We have a heavy presence on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook, and so we engage our community everywhere, and our experts are always available. We continue the tradition of having in-store events now, which have become really big now that we all came back, right? So that continues. And the nice thing is we've used digital tools to replicate some of those same experiences online, and we're continuing to do so more. I mentioned we have a rental business, so one of the things we want to do is, and it hasn't happened yet, but the most logical thing that we want to unlock next for our customers is try before you buy, right? It's so logical, like you want this camera, you want to experience it, let us give you the ability to play around with it without costing too much money and then just give it back. So it's all those elements we've been slowly piecing together to unlock that flagship store experience. Now, I will be the first to say that the online thing is beautiful, but I'm a big believer in physical retail too. So my dream is one day that Adorama actually does expand its physical presence nationwide, but not as a full retail store, but more as experience centers. Again, same idea, right? Bringing community in, being a hub for creators to come and mingle and interact with us. So that's kind of how we think about it.
Yeah, that's awesome. And congrats on the anniversary. I'm not sure if you want to give people the opportunity to find out that they're not a photographer there. You know, it might reduce camera sales.
Everybody's a photographer now. Or more. Remember,
Right.
creators, we're not just photography. We sell drones, we sell all sorts of cool stuff.
Right. No. No, that's great. Liz, question for you. Delivering coherent and delightful customer experiences online is a challenge. How does Pandora leverage consumer insights to inform product design and personalized customer experience?
Yeah. There are two kind of big buckets that we tend to look at. One is what's not working. And then two is how do we understand and unlock what we know about our customer. So if we focus on the what's not working, Content Square released a report that said 2 out of 5 digital journeys right now are friction-filled, identified by the customer. So that's still quite high. We leverage tools like NPS, voice of the customer, heat mapping, journey exploration to really understand, okay, what about the experience, whether it's navigation, search results, product recommendations, copy, imagery that we're exposing, what's working and what isn't here. And they're quickly deploy different testing strategies to understand, okay, if we move this button here, does that unlock something? Maybe a radial button isn't really intuitive to a customer on a mobile device, but it works really well on desktop. So we're really, really hyper-focused on building a really comprehensive testing roadmap to really understand how do we impact what's not working. And then the second piece is really around, well, who is your customer and why are you doing this? I think it's very easy for us to put our subjective opinions into our businesses when maybe we're not always the best representative of who our customer is. So we spent a lot of time deploying different strategies and kind of consolidation points around data capture to understand who exactly is our customer. So we spend a lot of time thinking about how do we deploy a different journey for a new customer that maybe is coming from a social channel versus a new customer that's coming from Google, for instance. So really hyper-fixated on where can we leverage interconnectivity throughout our customer journey to gain as much insight as possible so that we don't have a one-size-fits-all. Especially when we have a really robust set of assortment. If we decide to show you something about love and family, but maybe you're trying to commemorate a death of a family member, that might not be the most applicable experience or assortment. So really trying to understand what's not working and then how do we learn as much about you so that we can cater to your experience.
Yeah, that's great. All right, Hani, next question. I talked to Arjun a little bit and you said you were known for your innovative approaches. So I'm curious, how are you investing in building personalized customer experiences at Adorama? And what advice would you give to the audience?
All right, good question. I don't know if I deserve the innovative title, but sure, I'll take it. Okay, so you know how I started out saying I saw that image? So I imagined the experience in a store even 50 years ago, and the core thing that I took away from it always was the level of personalization people experience in physical retail, right? The relationships that are built, the knowledge that a person would have had on their customers back in the day. We, 5 years ago, started a journey to replicate, as I said, that same thing. And the way you start getting to that level of personalization and truly knowing your customer is, of course, with data, right? And that's a no-brainer. I don't think it's a revelation to anybody in this room. What we did, though, have deliberately tried a lot of things. Some have worked well, and some have worked okay, but we continue to innovate. So I'll give you an example. For example, we 5 years ago had decided that we wanted to have a better understanding of our customers as a whole. The big buzzword 5 years ago was CDP, Customer Data Platform. Everybody wanted one, right? And there's so many solutions out there, and now we're all trying to put our customer data in, hope magically it all ties together and we understand them better, full 360 views, blah, 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 right? It doesn't work, no matter what solution provider you go to, right? And no matter what they promise, it never really truly delivers on the promise. You can imagine a much better future using technology, but technology sometimes fails to deliver that on that bigger promise, right? But we never lost faith in what we wanted to do. The use case was simple. We want to know our customers. We want to know how to talk to them, where to talk to them, what is the next thing they want to do, and how do we help them unlock value even post-purchase, right? And so what we did recently, and it was one of our team's passion projects, we said one of the more, with all the other things happening now, with generative AI and all that stuff, right? People talk about, oh, well, you can have better product content and chatbots and blah, blah, blah. And we said, yeah, that's great. But at the underlying level, from a foundational level, you really do need to know who your customer is before you can build and unlock those next level experiences leveraging generative AI or any other technology for that matter. So our passion project became understanding identity. And we put a whole project around identity. And the idea is simple. Instead of trying to stitch it at the very end, all these data points on a customer across all of our brands, 6 to be total, and then truly build a picture about them and then do something with it, we said, you know what, we're going to clean it up. We're going to start from zero. We're going to build an identity microservice that's going to be a single point of entry for all of our brands. Customers sign up. They're not going to get randomly opted into brands that they don't want to be part of. They won't get blasted by messages for a brand that they didn't never heard of. But we want to know who they are. And as they start discovering our experiences and products across brands, then we can start tying all those elements to them and build on that, right? And use that to drive the next generation of personalization experiences. Because we've done personalization, right? Today, you go to our homepage, the banners will be personalized to you and what you've bought in the past. We try to segment you in different ways, and we talk to you in different ways. But we're already thinking of, once we know them even better, we can unlock next level in all sorts of things. You go to our product page. The copy on the page can be more personalized to who you are. And as a friend of mine said, are you customizing to where they are? I'm like, oh, that's a great idea, right? Because if they were coming to my scuba brand, a scuba diver in Florida is very different from a scuba diver in California, and I'd recommend a different kind of wetsuit to them at that point, right? So it's those kind of use cases we're trying to solve. So to what we think, and I'd like to be a little prescriptive, but not just sharing with the big ideas. It's simple. I think you still need a good data strategy where you can put all your data, but more importantly, figure out how you tie it together. You need a good, clean strategy to get your data as clean as possible before you feed it into an LLM or any other system. And so those are the things we're focused on, right? So we've dabbled with OpenAI, via Microsoft's Azure platform and all these things. And these are the little experiments we continue to do to unlock innovative experiences.
No, I love that response, and I appreciate your focus on the post-customer value add. I think that's really important in today's age. Liz, last question. For those in the audience building their organization for the future, with online becoming the new flagship store, what are some key learnings from your time at Wayfair, Walmart, and Pandora that you can share with the audience?
Yeah, certainly. I think e-com historically has lived in a variety of different functions within any given company. Sometimes it's in marketing, sometimes it's in technology, sometimes it's its own independent entity. But it's a highly cross-functional and functional dependent entity. You need to have alignment with marketing, merchandising, finance, technology, et cetera, depending if each of those are its own separate function. So where I've seen success is, one, ruthless prioritization, really clear, effective communication, and not just like, okay, here are the priorities, but how do you communicate that belief and that accountability across that functional value chain, and then clarity on what are the key inputs that we're going to be doing to drive these outputs and those measurables. Yeah.
No, that's great, and I think that concludes our session. But well, thank you, Liz and Hani, fantastic, and honestly, thank you for sharing your insights and experiences. It's clear that building resilience in e-commerce can come down to focusing on customer lifetime value, leveraging and adopting new technologies, an emphasis on, and maybe most importantly, an emphasis on collaborative culture across the organization. So hope the audience found this discussion valuable and gained some practical takeaways. Thank you again, Liz and Hani. You guys were terrific, and thank you for the opportunity to interview you here.
Absolutely.
So thank you.
You.